my first podcast 10 or plus years ago was called My Kiwi Life, and it was more of what we're doing now, just these conversations, and actually that blew up really quick, and I don't know why I didn't continue that, but I thought vlogging would be the next thing, because that was when Casey Neistat first came on the scene. So I tried vlogging, and that's why I'm interested with you doing it every day for a year. I tried to do it every day for a year, and I ended up getting sick, having, influenza.
Yep.
And so I broke my days, and I thought, stuff it. But I got like 150 days into it. And so I've always been doing this kind of thing. And I don't know why. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I've always thought podcasting is an awesome way to meet new people. This episode of A Beacon of Hope is proudly brought to you by Campfire Studios. To find out more, visit campfirestudios.co.nz. 2, 3, 4. A Beacon of Hope is a weekly podcast that shines a light on the human spirit and explores the power of hope in our lives. Join me, Will Fleming, as I talk to people from all walks of life about where they find hope and how they use it to navigate life's challenges.
Be good, be safe, and be happy.
Hey everyone, welcome to this off-the-grid edition of A Beacon of Hope. For those who follow this podcast closely, you will notice that there's a bit of infrequency here on the frequency I'm trying to push out, the frequency of hope. And that's simply due to me sharing this frequency with others, looking to boost their hope frequency. And what I mean by that is in the content that I create, that we create at Campfire Studios, we are busy, we are working, we are making impact in our community. But it's cool because I called in a favor this week. A while ago, I was blessed to be on Hendos Hot Topics. Jack Henderson, he's a Kiwi podcaster, a solid person. You get that through watching his content. You get that through seeing who Jack surrounds himself with. And you even get that when you talk to Jack, that he's open to life. And I really dig that. I'm a little bit anti-fake. I mean, we're all a bit fake, but where we can, we try to be real. And Jack is real. So this conversation that you're about to be part of is from Jack's podcast, where he hosted me on his podcast to talk about my story, to talk about some of the mahi, the work that we do at Campfire Studios, the suicide prevention podcast, the transition from Please Blow My Mind, which was my podcast where, in the name, help me understand what's happening in the world. Please blow my mind. Transition to A Beacon of Hope, a more targeted, zoomed in version of the current chapter of my life. So, thank you, Jack. Highly encourage everyone to check out Hendos Hot Topics, a very active Kiwi podcaster doing great things. Enjoy this episode. Jack, thank you for sharing this frequency with me, and thank you everybody for amplifying our beacon of hope.
Okay.
Yeah, bro.
Here we go.
Awesome, man.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to Hendos Hot Topics. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having an amazing day, and of course, I hope you're loving yourself. Now, we have an old face joining us today, Mr. Will Fleming. How's it going, mate? Last time we met.
How are you?
Good, mate. Last time we met, you were going under Please Blow My Mind podcast, and you're on a different journey now. We'll get to that.
Yep.
First, I want to ask you, be honest as you want to be, how is life in general?
I can honestly say it's good.
Love that.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I'm an optimistic type person. But you got to fight for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, I just said that last time we met, you were under Please Blow My Mind podcast. Now, you are under A Beacon of Hope podcast.
Yeah.
Why the change, brother?
So, Please Blow My Mind is exactly my nature.
Yep.
I'm a curious person. I was afforded that as a kid, to be curious, to to watch movies, to ask questions, to travel, to experience things. And I also like that I'm someone who was raised with manners. So please blow my mind is a question to people.
Yeah.
But I think I'm too curious in all areas. I had scientists on the show. I had philosophers. I had people who had gone to jail, all types of interesting people to me. But the problem with content is we're getting pressured to be more niche. So when I reflected, I thought, what is it that I'm asking for my mind to be blown? And I think it's around that topic of hope. It's around that topic of optimism. And it's trying to see if that can be passed on, or if some of us are just born with it and not. I don't know, but it's a really interesting conversation.
Love that. Now, with this change, have you felt the need to, have a change in your creativity, or because you are so right with content these days, it is really niche. It's the most basic things is what people enjoy the most.
Absolutely.
But we both can agree that we want to give the people who tune into our platforms the highest content. So we try to make it as tough as we can for ourselves to make the videos look as good, to make the questions articulated very nicely. So has this more basic change in putting things out there? Have you found a bit of an effective on your creativity?
I mean, dude, I think creativity goes exactly against the algorithm, but unfortunately it's under the same umbrella.
Yep.
We're all hoping our stuff goes viral, but really what goes viral is the more virus side of us, the darkness within, and that's interesting. It is really interesting, and we're attracted to that. I mean, have you ever wondered why so many people are into like those, death type podcasts or murder stuff, or, the shades of grey stories? It's really dark. There's a darkness within, but what's not sexy, what's not cool seems to be the opposite to that, the light, the hope. And so I think, that's not going to go viral, but it's certainly missing in our public consciousness. When you turn on the news, it's not news, it's bad news.
100%.
And so the algorithm, and I think AI and whatnot, we're all kind of sussing this out, but it's targeting that really deep part of us, which is the monster within us. And I don't know if that's good.
Yeah.
That means we can be controlled, we can be bullied, we can be crushed. And I think there should be more champions for the opposite to that. And I would put you there as a champion of hope. And actually I would put most of us podcasters as champions of hope. We're curious. The problem is that curiosity doesn't equal virality. It does, but I think not how the metrics are set up at the moment.
With the algorithm aside and numbers and all that ballpark, are you finding it more enjoyable to do it now?
Yeah, well, I've been doing podcasting for like 10 years.
Yep.
It started as a hobby when I was catching the bus to town to go to work. And I don't know, I've told myself this story so many years, I don't know if it's true or not, but I think I was bored on the bus and I Googled, and this was back when data cost heaps too, and I Googled what to do on the bus, and podcasts came up. And the podcasts that were like really popping 10 years ago were Kevin Smith, Jay and Silent Bob, Joe Rogan was obviously there, but nothing really locally. And I was like, I could do this. So I started a podcast. My first podcast 10 or plus years ago was called My Kiwi Life. And it was more of what we're doing now, just these conversations. And actually that blew up really quick. And I don't know why I didn't continue that, but I thought vlogging would be the next thing, because that was when Casey Neistat first came on the scene. So I tried vlogging, and that's why I'm interested with you doing it every day for a year. I tried to do it every day for a year, and I ended up getting sick, having, influenza.
Yep.
And so I broke my days, and I thought, stuff it. But I got like 150 days into it. And so I've always been doing this kind of thing. And I don't know why. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I've always thought podcasting is an awesome way to meet new people. There's no way me and you connect for our first podcast if we don't have a reason to connect.
Yep.
You know, we're of different generations, probably some similar hobbies, but most likely we won't cross paths. This thing called podcasting brought us together. And I just think, like, that's cool. That's a cool thing in life. And I wish we could have more ways to do that.
I also think I'll build on the idea of podcasting. I think the other cool thing about podcasting these days is it's a lot easier to find like-minded people to surround you in life,
Yep.
which is a real positive. But also, it allows you to connect with people with different perspectives, but you're able to find the fine line, the firm ground, which these days, like you're saying, the media and all the news is really hard to find.
Absolutely.
So it's the bit of hope that we give to people that,
Yep.
hey, you got different views to me, but we're having a civil conversation
Yep.
and we're having a good one.
Bro, and hope is found, and I'll try not to make this sound like T-shirt sayings, but I think hope is found within people, within connections.
Yes.
I can imagine us in a different generation sitting in some trench in a war, and it sucked, and it was cold and windy, and we were probably sick, mentally, physically, spiritually, and all we had was each other. And that might have come through in stories, in jokes, in sharing food. But I don't know if we're getting enough of that now. I'm not convinced that an internet connection is enough for us to get what we need from each other. That Wi-Fi of hope.
Yeah.
That when you say it out loud, it sounds really stupid, actually. That's not real. You just need a roof over your head, but you don't. I think I'm not really a religious person, even though I would say I'm quite spiritual, but I don't quite know what that means. But I'm sure that's what all those ancient texts were trying to articulate, What is it when the chips are down, when your money's gone, when no one is going to come and save you? What will keep you going? And, for me, I can't really find anything else than optimism, having some hope for the future. And if you lose that, and I mean, you are someone who can talk to that, losing that hope and what it felt like, and then how did you find it again? And, I think it's within our connections, and it's just we don't take it seriously, we really don't.
What's a moment in your life where you really had to test your optimism? How would you say optimistic?
I've thought about this heaps, bro. Like, I'm a lucky person. I have a mum and dad who loved me, and they raised me with love. I'm the youngest of my brothers and sisters, so I think what that meant is I had enough people to kind of like run interference to too much trauma in life, and I know that's not everyone's story. It is also why I'm on this journey, because I feel like if you've been blessed or given space to be able to dream, you have an obligation to remind people who have lost that it's possible. I think sometimes we can get caught up in like, oh no, I can't go out there and say how awesome my stuff is. Well, you should, because many of us don't have that love, that hope, that optimism by default. There's too much other baggage which is weighing down. So we, those who can should, and we say that about a lot of things. But I had some pretty tough moments in life where I think if I didn't have a reserve of hope and optimism, a bank full, that I can imagine moments where you might get swamped. Yeah. So we had my wife and I, Monica, we've been married, well, it seems forever now, but maybe coming up 20 years.
Yep.
And we got married at something like 24 or something like that. And we had a baby that didn't survive. And I remember thinking in that moment, wow, this is quite straightforward and simple. I either can carry on or not. And in that moment, my hope and optimism was for the other two children we had, who were small at the time. And I remember thinking, don't let this moment be their defining moment in life, See if you can suck it up, carry it, take it, not forget about it, but own it, if you like, and keep going for them. And I don't know if I completely succeeded in that. You don't know how you carry your traumas. But I do know that I had enough optimism and hope and support and love to do that. And so I sit here with you today, and that was a tough moment in life, but I had enough to give. And I guess all I'm saying is, like, I totally get it if someone doesn't. I totally get it. But then isn't it about all of us wrapping around someone to help fill that bank of hope back up? And how do we do that if we don't even know what we're talking about, And I guess that's a little bit that journey I'm on with a beacon of hope, but also the podcasts that we've been releasing, like our new one, Let's Get Pacific. So it's a made-up name. I thought it was fun on paper until everyone's like, what does Pacific mean? Is that a word? And I said, no, it's like Google. It means nothing, but Pacific is let's get specific about suicide prevention, and that was how I mashed it together in my mind. And that's a podcast where I ask people like Ruben Wiki and other Pacific academics from a Pacific perspective, what is optimism? What is hope? How do we share that? And also, what are the things that make people go down that path? I think we know it deeply. I think we know why somebody would feel like the world's too much. It must be a mixture. I mean, clinically, they call it contributing factors. I don't really know what that means apart from it must be a lot of things thrown at you. Your trauma from childhood, your current trauma, a bad day at the office, self-doubt, and maybe there's 50 of them, and then all of a sudden it weighs you down, But I hope the opposite is true, which is maybe a kindness from a stranger, sunlight, some omega-3, a little bit of sun, maybe connecting with the earth. It's funny, when we talk contributing factors from a negative point of view, everyone's like, oh yeah, trauma will nail you. But no one's like, taking your shoes off and walking in the forest will replenish you. We think that's the BS. And it's like, it's not.
It's the basics that we've forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, your recent project, Let's Get Pacific, I resonated with this project a lot because it kind of circled around to why I started this whole podcast in the beginning, and that was to help my Pacifica mates. I was the only white boy that they felt comfortable talking to. I had a lot of Pacifica mates who couldn't speak about what they were going through at home, not even to their siblings.
That's right.
Not even their parents. And so I was the only person at school they could come and talk to. They knew I'd been through some stuff, and they knew I'd be open with them and be honest with them but listen to them, which is why I started this podcast in the very first place. So
that's awesome.
I'm not going to talk about Pacific anymore.
Yeah.
But I want you to talk about it a bit more, mate. It's a wonderful 15-part series.
That's right.
So I'll hand it over to you, brother.
Thanks, bro. I mean, you raise a really crucial topic where Pacific people are proud people, so much so that there are hierarchies within that system, and sometimes you're not encouraged to talk. Now, the challenge with that is it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, if you don't talk, you bottle it up. And if you bottle it up, something's going down, and it's not good. And you might have a buffer or optimism or love or support networks or access to counseling or whatnot. But if you're going to bottle it up, it'll get you. And the beautiful thing that came through on the podcast series is you only actually need one person in your corner. And what are they there for? For you to unbottle and just let out a bit of steam, And it really works. And people, again, don't believe it. They think it can't be that simple. Now, as we highlighted, there's other contributing factors. Poverty is a huge one. I've had people talk to me over the years about, stress. When you come from a Pacific family, well, let's paint a picture. You come from another country, you don't speak any word of that language. Maybe there has been no onboarding process. So, for example, you don't know you need a driver's license. You get pulled over for driving. So you don't understand what the police officer is saying, but now you have a financial penalty. You didn't even know that you needed a driver's license. This is the story of many people in the 60s when Pacific came to New Zealand. I guess what we don't realize is that stress, and stress, as we know for all of our cultures, doesn't bring out the best in us. My friend, who was a child of these first immigrants, said he doesn't remember seeing his mum be beaten by his dad until they came here. And so that is kind of, I guess, evidence that, look, it's not that some cultures are more aggressive and others aren't. Some cultures can have more buffers. We might call it colonialism or the remnants of that. And I don't want to kind of get into it because, I'm half of two cultures, one Cook Island culture and one European New Zealand culture. But we should at least admit that some type of having less buffers means you'll be more stressed. Being more stressed means you'll have higher blood pressure. Higher blood pressure means you'll probably have more sickness like, diabetes. Having a sickness might make you more aggressive. Like you don't have to be a doctor to work that out. And so I guess this podcast tried to explore through lived experience some examples, like more well-known people like Ruben Wiki talked about. He was going through a rough patch in his league career and he was bottling it up because that's all he knew. Like concrete pill, like tough it out, mate. And his body was breaking down on him. He started his body filled with boils. And what I was taking away from that was your body's trying to get it out. It's doing everything it can to take what's inside out and physically to show you. And you're still going against it. And of course, that takes you down that bad pathway. And so I said, dude, what was the secret? And he said, I had to come clean to my wife. And that was the best decision I made because she was that person for me. And I was like, man, Ruben, you're telling me that the best suicide prevention tactic is having a partner in life? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that's so cool because that's possible for all of us. We could aim for being someone that someone might want to be around. We could aim for, maybe it's not going to be the influencer that we think we deserve, or, that whole weird online world, but maybe it's someone in our network that we could be their person for them, and guess what? They'll be the person for us. And so that came through in some of the other chats. We talked to counselors who kind of broke down that there's these hierarchies like I was talking about, but you still have to find that one person that can be a counselor. I mean, that's the beauty of the Mike King stuff that I think gets forgotten. He's championing you being able to talk to someone. That's it. And actually, when you explore with some of the, mental health stuff around the country, there's like two tactics that the government support. One is SSRI or a tablet. And the other is, do you know what the other is? And that's like sucks that you don't know what the other is because none of us do. But bro, it's podcasting. It's talk therapy. That's what it's called. Sharing your feelings with somebody. It's just like Kiwis have a weird wall up against counselling. But we could have studios like this promoting conversations. And guess what we're doing? Letting a little bit of steam out. And guess what that does? It means you don't have to carry the weight of your past, present, and future with you. And you're able to, I guess, just, what would you call it? Be
Unload.
hopeful. Yeah.
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 And it's so true what you said about all you need is one person in your corner. All you need is one person in your corner. And I've said this many times over the years, that your best friend that you've been friends with since you were a kid, childhood friend, high school mate, whatever it is, you not talking and you bottling it up, you may not realize, but your best mate who's next to you 5 days a week, every weekend, whatever it may be going through the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And all it takes is for, bro, I'm feeling shit. And he might go either, what is it, bro? I'm here for you. Talk about it. Or, me too, bro. I thought I was alone. And I think I've had a lot of friends be that way to me, and I've been that way to a lot of my friends, but it makes you really realize there's still something in our minds. I don't know if it's just Kiwis in general. Like you said, we still have a wall up against therapy and being open. I don't know if it's Kiwis in general, but there's still something in our mind, no matter how much we know someone, no matter how much we love them, how much we trust them, when we're going through shit, there's still a pop-up that goes, don't say anything.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. And I don't know what it is, but we've both spoken to Dom Harvey, and he's always been very open with. He calls it was his. I think it was his dirty gym bag. For years and years and years, he used the picture that he kept on piling all these dirty gym clothes into his gym bag and left it in his car, and over years it stunk up, and it got so bad at one point it was his breaking point where he just opened the bag and let all the dirty clothes out.
Yeah.
And it's how do we not get to that point is what we need to try to figure out.
Yeah.
And talking, like circulating it back to what you said at the start, podcasting is what we have in common.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for podcasting, most likely wouldn't have crossed paths.
Yeah, and it's a real shame that that's the case, because it's awesome the people you meet.
Yeah.
You will have the same experience of your network is massive because we have a reason to reach out to people.
Yeah.
And it brings out the best in us,
Yeah.
You're not always perfect. I'm not always perfect, but right now we're trying to be probably one of the most optimistic versions of ourselves. And I think that's not fake. That's like you having a chance. Maybe that's the thing here, is that when you've actually got a chance to hear yourself talk and you're like, actually, I made a good point there. You're also reinforcing yourself that your interests are not just your internal ones. We think of all horrible stuff. And I think that's the problem here, right? That's where we draw the line and we say, that's me, the one that I just think of, the inner critic, the one that thinks the, weird stuff. But it's maybe just like a playground, and that's what you're supposed to do. But you're supposed to, I think, have a go at hearing it out loud if you're able to. And because we don't, I think we've got just a really bad negative feedback loop that's also being hardcore influenced by algorithms. Like we said, man, they know. I don't know if you probably studied a little bit of that stuff around social media companies. It actually spooked me to realize that for an algorithm to work good, it has to make you more predictable. And it made us all predictable. It made the person on the fence who could be a bully become a bully. It made the person on the left who needed to go all the way left, and the same on the right. And the truth is, we're all not really like that, but we're being kind of pushed. And I think that sucks. I think there should be laws against that. I think we need to work harder to find common ground with people. And when you actually make an effort to do that, you actually unlock a few things, in our podcast, the Let's Get Pacific, people were really vulnerable. They were one of the things that was a bit taboo to talk about was in some Pacific circles, mental health struggles are seen as more like, I'll probably get this wrong, but the essence will be correct. You're being punished from a higher power or possessed. And so you have these people like Dr. Sione Vaka, who's a mental health nurse in the Tongan community, and he's saying, no, we're re-educating our families. So it's not a punishment. These are symptoms of other things going on.
So kind of trying to avoid it altogether.
Just kind of saying like the church stuff, doesn't matter how much you give or pray, that's not the reason you're going through mental health crisis. This might be they're different contributing factors, but these are really taboo things to talk about. And so it was difficult, but also in Pacific culture, the word for talk or conversation is broken up in two words, tala noa. And you'll often hear Pacific talk about tala noa, or in Māori kōrero, but in tala noa, the beautiful thing about it is it's two words. So tala is the word for talk, and as it was described to me, noa is a space or another word for neutral. And so the goal of the tala noa, or the conversation, again, man, it's like podcasting, is about parties coming together to try and have a conversation to keep things neutral. And I thought that's so beautiful. It's so different to how we say in English, let's just have a yarn. We need the translation, if we were doing it from a Kiwi perspective, would be something like drink talk, where we need booze
to be open,
to calm us, to open.
Yeah.
Problem with booze is it amplifies other parts of our psyche, And I just thought, we could learn so much from each other in terms of our cultures if we implemented it and knew what we were doing. That's why I won't say it in a mean way, but that's why I have part beef with TV and radio, because they still won't have a truly authentic chat, and I talked about this with Dom. But on the surface, when Dom was the radio guy for 20 years, you thought, that's Dom, but it wasn't, The one you see in the podcast arena is Dom. He won't look for something to embarrass you with. He won't try and fill the dead air. And that's why I think we're actually having a talanoa now, and it's kind of cool, man, because I feel justified in backing this whole thing of podcasting, because I knew it was more than just a random chat. It was about connecting with people, sharing stories with people. I think those heal conversations when we have stories. They inspire thought. And, you try and do it every week. I try and do it every week. And that's why we love it.
Yeah.
Because you go into it and you're like, man, what are we going to say? How am I going to start this? And then, of course, the human spirit awakens and we start connecting, and it's feels awesome, and hopefully people enjoy it. And it's it's a nice circle all the way around.
Yeah. I want to touch on saying another beautiful thing about podcasting is it's helped me realize how disconnected we've all become. We're so inflicted with how our Instagram feeds look like. If our Instagram profiles are aesthetic, if we're listening to the new trendy music, if we're watching the new shows everyone's doing, if we're traveling every few months because our favorite influencer's doing that, we're so focused on our persona that we forgot about, and I'm going to reword what I was saying before, how to be our own person in our corner.
Yeah.
Or so worried about everyone else and what everyone perceives us as, we forget about how to be ourselves.
Absolutely.
How do we make ourselves happy? I think great challenge for you tuning in at home now is tomorrow morning, what I want you to do, as soon as you wake up, try your hardest that your first action is not to reach over and grab your phone. Don't reach over and grab your phone and check how many notifications you have. If you have a Snapchat, if people have liked your recent photo, if there's a new piece of clothing or your favorite influencer's posted, try and make that a challenge and challenge yourself to see just how disconnected you are from yourself.
Absolutely.
And I'll put my hand up and I'll say, being in the podcast game is I find a lot of my time is on my phone trying to, make reels or film my day in life or make another quote or figure out what I'm going to do for my next episode. And for the past month or so, I feel that's put not a strain, but I felt a bit of a nick into me and my partner's relationship.
Absolutely.
She's studying now and she's working her ass off at work and she's not on her phone much. And then here's me on my phone. I'll probably say, it's just going to sound really bad, but probably 10 hours out of a day. And it's made me realize how disconnected are we really? It's become life. It has become life. This thing is either near me in a 2-foot radius or it's in my pocket by my side every day. And I'm always, the dopamine I get from or the email notification or something is the same dopamine I got from when I was 5 running around in the paddock with my granddad. And it's constructed us into being pretty much just a lifeless skeleton protecting a brain and a heart. For a lot of people, it's hard to find meaning these days because attention spans are so short. They're seeing people younger than them driving Lamborghinis for their first car overseas and stuff. It's like, stuff that. Focus on you and how you can make yourself happy. Stop comparing and stop worrying about what your next 5 years or if you can be like this person when you're their age. Stop all that. Put your phone down. Don't have to read a book, but read a book or re-ground yourself outside. Take your shoes off, go into the forest, go into the lawn with, spread your toes out, reconnect with the basics and how you can feel relaxed
100%.
and distracted from the thing that distracts you. How can you become distracted from that? How can you live life again? These are powerful tools, but weapons of mass destruction when it comes to
100%.
life.
And robbers of what could be.
Yeah.
One of the fears we have, I think it's a bit that analogy with Dom, for example. We talked about dead air, that's the worst thing on radio. Like if I just go quiet for a second, you'd never hear that gap. Someone's got to fill it. And that's the problem with the phones and the algorithms. They have to fill the gap. Some of the best stuff you ever will come up with is in the gap, A friend of mine, Jimmy Hunt, calls it the shower thought. You're just in the shower and then boom, something happens. Well, guess what? It's because you probably have stimulus from the shower or your body's like, cool, man, we're in a waterfall or something. It thinks that you can't just be in the shower, but of course we're in this man-made construct, right? And we're so fearful, I think we've been trained now that there's no dead space. So guess what? We want to fill it, and there's 100 things you could work out in your dead space if you create that space. Like one of the things I like to get people to ask themselves is, what can you do that you find easy and others find hard? And that's like quite a confronting question for some people because everyone's like, oh, what do you mean? It's like, well, what can you do that when you do it, others like? Maybe they admire you because it's like, how do you do that? Or maybe it's drawing, maybe it's podcasting, maybe it's Googling a certain topic, or maybe people would call it a hobby, something that you are just really good at. Maybe it's a gift. What a lovely way to think in life that we could all be given a gift. And actually, I believe it to be true, I'm not going to go and dunk basketballs, but I can do 1,000 podcasts, and others would find that horrible, but I find it fun.
Yeah.
So the second question is like, will people pay for it? And if the answer is yes, chase that, Chances are you already have like 10,000 hours. You heard 10,000 hours? Malcolm Gladwell talks about successful people are people that had enough, I guess what we call privilege or buffers. Buffers are an easier way for me to talk about it because it's not so culturally related. If you're lucky enough to have a buffer, you most likely became good at something because of that buffer. Let's say your parents drove you to the doctor, and for one family, they say to the child, what's one thing you want to ask the doctor? Child thinks about it, says, I want to know what that mole is, for example. That's actually not just the parent preparing the child for life. It's giving the child these skill sets that they can leverage in other ways. The other child, where the parent does all the talking, that child doesn't know how to interact with an adult. And that was the example he gave. And so he said, like, these children who get up to 10,000 hours of training then go on and master that. But there must be something that we're all doing because it's a gift or a hobby to us. And I think if you think about what that is, and then you ask yourself, will people pay for it? That just helps. It's been a fun exercise for me to do. So like that's, podcasting or podcast producing or hanging out with people. I love it. I like the prospect of trying to get someone to believe that they have something to say on a microphone like this. And most people are honestly shit scared to try it because we're not used to hearing our voice. We just established before we're internalizers. But when they do it and they feel like they can do it and they hear themselves do it, just like we're doing now, you get this awesome reward, way more than a phone can offer. But you also get more. You get a connection. If you do your job well enough as a talker, a podcast host, you get a friend out of it. All these other things that kind of make sense to have a hopeful life. And so, I guess I'm going a bit all over the place, bro. But I think we've just got to we've got to fight against that stuff that brings us down. And I don't know how to. I'm someone who's lucky to have had buffers in their life. But that's my message. If you're not lucky to have had buffers, then find that one person, that you can let some of the steam out. When you think enough steam's been let out, don't fill that dead air, Find that thing that you have just by accident because, who knows, it could be anything, knitting or press-ups, or you can sit and hold your breath the longest. Then would someone pay for it? And if they would, then awesome. Then you can make your career. And I think that's the best suicide prevention tactic. The friends I've talked to, they said, if we can help Pacific people and Māori people who are on average the highest in the statistics with financial literacy, that will solve a lot of the other contributing factors. Less stress about money, less stress about that means less worry. Less worry means less high blood pressure. Less high blood pressure means less bad decisions. And you can see how that gets alleviated along the way. And as you're experimenting, and I am too, taking total ownership of what you do in life, is I've found to be the best suicide prevention tactic, because you worry about your well-being, you worry about where your money comes from. It might feel good to outsource that to others, but then they get all of your wins. They control you, and there's a dopamine hit in control. I mean, humans have had a long history of owning other people, and it's somewhere deep in us. Each of us, it's not that some people are like that. Dude, put us in these scenarios where it brings out the worst in us, i.e. a depression or COVID or an algorithm, and we will be that monster. So, we're here fighting to be hopeful and optimistic.
Love that, Will. It is, it's that dog in everyone.
Bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's weird, because we love cute things too. The cute cat.
Yep.
So why does that go viral? But saying that we should be nice and be kind and be a person of hope for someone else, that won't go viral. Or maybe it does, and maybe that's why I'm doing the beacon of hope, is that when you have your dark day, you might find something like that and tune in, and there'll be a resource there for you. Yeah, I've been trying to think more down that path at the moment. Another idea that I'm trying to develop is creating a podcast specifically for people who are in jail. Because I was like, man, what a liability if you get access to books.
Yeah.
What if you can't read? Do you get access to audiobooks? And then who is the judge of what's good for you or not? So, one of my dreams is to create a podcast series where I bring experts in about if you are open to transforming your life and maybe you're given a device which is not connected to the internet, but it has the series, how cool would that be? But again, that's not our current system. Our current system, I don't think, values the power of conversation. And weirdly, you got to turn to guys like us who are just random nobodies out there podcasting.
Yeah.
What a liability.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm building it up too much, but that's a huge liability. There's so many more people qualified to fill the shoes we are. We're just dudes. We're just randoms.
But that's what I think people like.
Mm.
They like everyday Joes. We're hustling like everyone out there.
Yeah.
We're doing what we can to survive day to day, pay the bills, get dinner. We don't work for big companies.
Yeah.
I think that's what people like. That they can relate to us in that sense.
It's what they need.
Yeah.
It's just the people who are charged with doing that at the highest order aren't themselves.
Yeah.
And that's a statement on government all the way down, You got the best comms people to simulate being a person. You got Simon Dello who sits on the TV reading a script through the cameras. But it looks like he's looking at you.
Yep.
But he's not. And he's got an earpiece in, and he's connected to 50 people in a studio because I've worked in that environment. It's like he's got people telling him 2 minutes to go. Camera 1. And it's not fair because to us it seems like he's got his shit together. But that's what it takes to have your shit together. 50 people in your corner, And we're only saying it'd be awesome if you had one. To survive in life, it only takes one.
Yeah.
But to thrive, it probably takes 50, just like the highest have, Look at all the top end people. They've all got teams. That's how brutal life is, eh? Like it's beautiful life, but that's how brutal it is. It takes 50 people to make you awesome and to thrive. And I think they know that, and most people don't know that, and so we're just out here hoping positivity's enough, but
doesn't match the algorithm.
Bro, we just get wiped out from it, and we are. Hey, look at the suicide stats. Like wiped out. It just drives you to the ground, drives you to levels of hopelessness that have never been seen before in our world. So, yeah, man, all we can do is just be that beacon, as you have for all your episodes, telling people that it's the simple stuff that makes the difference, that there's no quick fix, but that there is a real thing when you truly connect with someone, and, it's worth doing.
Beautiful, mate. Before we wrap it up, I want you to paint a picture in your head, all right? Your life up to this moment has been a film, okay? And just before those closing credits come, you have one more scene. It can be for a message to your kids in the future, a message for yourself in the future, or a message you want to put out into the world. What would that be?
That's heavy.
Good.
I would say trust yourself that you're probably not wrong. I'd say don't really listen or follow or do what I did. Just trust that your gut will help you, and really, really believe in that. Maybe more than you think you should. I think we should probably trust our gut. So maybe it's trust your gut. Maybe it's really, really trust your gut. and take it seriously, because I think we have gut feelings and then we override them really quickly. But that survival thing, which is arguably what the whole gig is about, surviving, we've developed other systems which help guide you, trust your gut, move down that way, talk to other people who have trust their gut. I found a mentor for the first time. I'm 42. I found a mentor at 40. I'd been looking my whole life, I wasn't looking for like a Obi-Wan or something like that, but I just had real problem listening to people who I didn't think were better than I was where I'm at, So that's why it's hard for me to listen to managers, because you can't tell me to do something if you're not better than me, especially about a specific skill, that I spent years getting
good at. And one that
you're
good at,
Yeah. And it's difficult, right? Because the role of a manager is to somewhat own you. But I found a mentor, and one, he's really rich. So I was like, well, he did something right. And two, he believed in his system. When he was a young guy, he read a book about, have you heard much about cause and effect?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But he took it seriously, and bottlenecks and things like that. So cause and effect and bottlenecks. If you're in business, that's terminology used, You first work out your bottlenecks, and then you work out when you have a cause, what's the effect? So, I put that into my podcast business. I know when I talk to somebody or when they have a conversation, they'll feel good. And I think I can monetize that. And I think that's a good service to monetize. But I found someone who took it dead serious, that stuff. And I love learning from him. I absolutely love it. And so he trusted his gut, and it made him a squillionaire, And I don't know if that's my drive at the moment, to be really rich. I don't think it is. But I think maybe you do become rich when you put all these things into order. So that goes back to your thing, man. I'm not really one for advice, but I'd probably say what's helped me is trusting my gut and taking it serious.
What a way to finish the film.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you for coming on today, Will.
Dude, I invited myself. It was awesome.
I don't care. Well, I'm saying thank you for coming on, mate.
Awesome.
It's been an amazing chat, and really nice to see you again, Will.
Yeah, you too, bro.
All the best for all your projects to come, and mate, I'm putting it into the universe now. Universe?
Yep.
Do your thing with the algorithm and get Will where he needs to go.
Boom.
That's all we hope.
Thanks so much.
Beautiful, mate.
This episode of A Beacon of Hope is proudly brought to you by Campfire Studios. Campfire Studios is an impact-led organisation amplifying the voices of Māori and Pasifika communities via podcasting and video content. To find out more, visit campfirestudios.co.nz. 2, 3, 4. Thank you for tuning in to this frequency of hope in our podcast today. If you found value from this episode and want to hear more, I would love it if you could follow, subscribe, and rate our show. By doing so, you will increase the frequency of the Beacon of Hope. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other platform, please take a moment to hit the follow or subscribe button and leave a rating and review. I truly appreciate your support and feedback, and it helps us make our podcast even better. Thank you.
Be good. Be safe. And be happy. Yeah. Sounds like that song, doesn't it? Be happy.
All right, Mama, we'll stop there, right?
Yeah, okay. All right.